Most business owners think that when they come on board to work with us that we're going to tell them to budget, cut all of their expenses and basically live on cornflakes for dinner in order to achieve their goals. I personally hate budgeting and I only refer to doing any kind of budgeting as an absolute last resort, and here's why. We've got to understand that budgeting, particularly as a business owner, is a scarcity-based strategy. The underlying assumption is that we have a finite amount of financial means and therefore we have to work within those means and essentially set unrealistic expectations around what we need to spend in order to achieve a certain amount of surplus. And for the vast majority of people that I've observed going through the process of budgeting, they fall short. Like 90% plus individuals who try and budget fail what they're actually trying to achieve. And there are some behavioral finance principles that support this. One, we are overly optimistic around the optimizations that we believe that we can make in our cash flow, both personally and in our business. Like how many times have you sat down and filled out a spreadsheet with a budget and you've said, oh yeah, I'm only going to spend $50 a week on personal spending and I'm going to cancel all of my streaming services and we're only going to eat out once a fortnight and we're not going to go on a big holiday this year. We set all of these unrealistic expectations and over 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, there are often surprises that creep in. And the issue with this is that we have basically committed to an unsustainable plan and then we reinforce the idea that we are able to compromise that plan as and when things come up. It's like, oh, it's just a once off, it's going to be okay. And we're actually reinforcing the wrong behavior. Instead, I believe that we should set a realistic expectation around what our lifestyle really costs. We should work at the amount of income that we need to produce from our business in order to live that lifestyle and set up structure to ensure that we have surplus. Because once we overcome the unrealistic nature of these goals that we've set, the second biggest challenge is what we refer to as the cash flow creep. That as we earn more income, that money just tends to slip through our fingers because we do not have the structure to support keeping that money and making it work for us. It is the number one issue that I see across all of my clients. And the reason for this is because there is a behavioral principle that is referred to as Parkinson's Law. And Parkinson's Law basically means that as a human being, we use the resources that we have available. So the more resources we have, the more resources we use. The great example of this is that when you go back to school and you had an assignment and you had 8 weeks to do the assignment, when would you finish the assignment? If you're anything like me, you would start it the night before, right? And you just bender it until you get it done. But imagine that your teacher said it was a 4-week assignment. You would have done the exact same thing just the night before the 4-week deadline. And this is Parkinson's Law playing out in real world. The same thing happens with finances, guys. And we've got to realize that as business owners, our business finances is the most significant amount of resource that we've ever had to manage. For many of us, we're dealing with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in cash flow that's going into our business and out. And most of that goes through a single account. And before we know it, that money just slips through our fingers. We've got no clarity and transparency around exactly where it has gone. And this is what we refer to as cash flow creep. So instead of budgeting, we take that energy and attention, which quite frankly is a waste of time, and we invest it into implementing and optimizing cash flow structure. We set up a series of bank accounts, we segment our spending, we set realistic expectations of what we need to spend, we put money into individual accounts for specific purposes, and then that account and the money that's in that account is the maximum amount of money that we can spend. If there's no money in the account, you can't spend it. And it requires you to have to manually transfer money, which creates triggers of accountability. And we often find across our clients, in the business, they increase their profits by 15 to 20%. And in the household, they increase their surplus by about 15 to 20%. Now, let's put some numbers around this. Let's say that you do $100,000 a month, okay? And you're currently in a position where you're doing, like say, 10% profit, so 10 grand a month. If you're able to increase your profitability by 15 to 20%, then that's thousands, potentially tens of thousands of dollars extra a year that you can optimize your profits by. In the household, let's say, for example, you pay yourself 10 grand a month. If we can increase your surplus by 15 to 20%, once again, that's tens of thousands of dollars of extra surplus that you can commit to your wealth creation, paying down your debts, or saving for the future, other lifestyle goals that you've got, right? This is how we go from reactive, historical, budget-based planning that's all based on the principle of scarcity, and we focus on pragmatic structure, of reinforcing the right behaviors and making sure that we can keep it really, really simple, and we focus on influencing the habits and behaviors as and when they are occurring, as opposed to reflecting on them in hindsight, and there's nothing that you can do. So this is how real cash flow is managed by people who actually know what they're doing, and this has been a game changer for our clients. So we've actually got a summit that's coming up in the next month, which is called the Financial Freedom Summit, where we're going to be spending an entire day with our private clients on the Gold Coast, going into creating killer cash flow. We're going to be going through strategies like setting up this cash flow structure and optimizing it for performance. We're going to show you strategies that can have you paying off your home loan in 7 to 10 years. We're going to be looking at ways that you can set up your tax structures to make sure that you're never paying a bonus to the ATO. So we've got a couple of seats available for guests. If you'd like to join us, feel free to hit me up. Love to share some details with you, and look forward to seeing you there.